Well, good morning. Good morning. May the 4th be with you. Good morning. Good morning, Doug. How are you, sir? Come on in, grab your last cup of coffee, and come on in. This morning we got an awesome morning with Modesto Children's Museum, and we've got some new startup coffee in the back and Starbucks coffee, and come on in, and we will get you started. If you'd like a picture with the Stormtrooper, he'll be around through the morning. In fact, if you want to go over and grab him somewhere here and take a picture with him, and go ahead and go for it. We've got a special guest this morning. He comes to us from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Aside from apprenticing from Qui-Gon Jinn, his notable achievements include some of these. Defeating Darth Maul. Serving as a general in the Clone Wars. Give me a ooh. All right, that's okay. It's 7 in the morning, you could tell. Rescuing the Supreme Chancellor. All right. Gaining a seat on the Jedi Council. And of course, mentoring both Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker. Taking a break from his exile on Tatooine, please welcome to the Catalyst stage, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. Woo!
Hello there, and good morning. You could tell the Star Wars fans of the rooms who laughed at that particular line, but it is wonderful to be here with you this morning. I want to welcome all of you to Catalyst. I know we're getting started a little bit late, but welcome also to all of you joining us online with my friend John Torres, who I assure you is not a rebel spy. That's right. Yes, we've got it. So just a few quick items as we get to our business this morning. We do want to thank Starbucks for providing excellent coffee and refreshment to us. We want to thank Cross Point Church for this fantastic venue. And we want to thank Ryan, our sound tech. Thank you, Ryan, for all that you do in the audio world. We also want to appreciate the community businesses and organizations that help to sponsor this fantastic gathering of Catalyst. Access Capital, Blue Shield of California, Oak Valley Community Bank, Rolling F Credit Union, Stanislaus Equity Partners, Starbucks, of course, TSM Insurance, and Valley First Credit Union. Thank you so much for your generous sponsorship. Please follow Catalyst on your social media. Coming from where I do, I don't understand exactly what that is, but I understand that it's a way to communicate with one another, which is something that we all desire together in the Force. It's has a light side and a dark side, but it binds the universe together. And it sounds like Twitter may be something similar to that. I want to also remind you that Catalyst is a place for community conversations, also something that is wonderful, and connections that matter and inspire. So I hope today what you take from our gathering is information, knowledge, and learning from our fabulous presenters, and inspiration from those who are around you. We can all, I think, agree that in this day and age, a little bit of extra inspiration and some enthusiasm is something that we could all benefit from. So our hope, our new hope, is for galactic harmony, and that you will connect with one another today. And we really appreciate your presence here, either in person or online. To get us started today, we have a trivia question or two that. So I hope you have all brushed up. This being Star Wars Day, may the Force be with you and all. So this first one, we're just going to just go ahead and shout out the answer. We'll try to see who the first person is. We'll use the Force to guide me. But this is a multiple choice trivia question. And as a prize, we have a Star Wars cup or mug, which I will confess I have not seen yet, but here they are. They're going to be fantastic. So question number 1, what color is my Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber? Blue. Who said blue? I didn't even get to the multiple choice. So blue, whoever said blue, raise your hand. Stand up. Go ahead, stand up. There we go. We have a winner. Thank you. Congratulations. Yes, of course it is blue. blue, similar in color to my first Padawan, Anakin Skywalker, whose lightsaber was also blue. Next question, one Star Wars cup. Again, I'll do multiple choice on this one. 1 cup per attendee, by the way. Which of these villains did I, Obi-Wan Kenobi, not fight? Darth Maul, Darth Vader, or Darth Sidious? Who did I not fight? Raise your hand. We got Darth Sidious over here, and that was a close second back there. But Darth Sidious, yes, sir. Sidious, okay. Darth Sidious is correct. Yep, so you are the winner of a Star Wars cup. Go ahead and open those up and make the other folks at your table just a little bit jealous and wish that they had rewatched the trilogy recently. Congratulations. We're coming to a time of some connection at your table, so if you haven't introduced yourself yet, now is a great time. You do that by leaning forward and saying, hello, I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's very nice to meet you. And my friend here would lean forward and say, hello, I'm Clone Trooper CT-7576, and we both nod and say good morning. It's nice to see you. He's out here doing the Chancellor's work. So question number 1, this is for your table. Question number 1, I'm going to give you both at the same time, and you can talk about it. Would you rather be a stormtrooper or a bounty hunter? A stormtrooper or a bounty hunter? So go ahead and have just a little quick discussion. Would you like to be a stormtrooper or a bounty hunter at your table? If we could go ahead and take the music down, we're going to transition to a wonderful time of information sharing at our morning gathering today. We have 2 wonderful folks from the Modesto Children's Museum. We have Chelsie Webster and Dr. Jake Barber. For 8 years, Chelsie Webster held a leadership position at the Center of Science and Industry in Columbus, Ohio. She served as Director of Education Strategic Initiatives and Director of Education Programs. She's a graduate from Ohio State University with a BA in Psychology and a Master's of Education in Early Childhood Education. Sounds like this is the perfect place for her. And Dr. Jake Barber is one of the founding members of this museum, a current board member, and the board chair of the Development Committee. So if you would please give a very warm and genuine welcome to Dr. Jake Barber. Come on up, sir. Thank you.
Well, sorry I didn't wear the appropriate attire today. Next time I'm going to bring my lightsaber for sure. But hey, thank you guys so much for having us here today. I know Chelsea's been a part of this, I think now for a few talks, which is great. I've heard a lot about Catalyst, and so it's neat to be here and see everybody and all the great things you guys are doing and sharing ideas and information with one another and working together, because that's what it takes, everyone getting together and making this community better. So we will go ahead and get started. I'm just going to give a little bit of history, basically, and I know some of you guys I know you all, and you guys have been through some of these talks before, so my apologies if you've heard a little bit of this. But the exciting news is Chelsie Webster, our CEO, who's been here, I think, on the ground for a little over, 2 months now? And then 3 months, though, working with us, is here to speak, and she's the real superhero, so we'll let her take over here shortly. So without further ado, I did at least get the May the 4th be with you there in the slideshow, so that's about all I had. But very excited to be here on May the 4th with you guys. It's a big day for Modesto. And next slide, please. So a lot of people, if you're not familiar with children's museums, kind of what are they and why are we doing something like this here? So a children's museum is something that is it's an informal learning experience. And so where we think of school as a formal learning experience, right? There's rules and there's certain structure and things you're trying to accomplish within a set parameters, put forth by legislators and educators and whatnot. Children's museums are really supposed to be more about open play, about children being empowered to use their own minds, to be creative, to discover things themselves, and take from it what they put in is what they're going to get out of it, and it's very open and it's very hands-on. So nothing there is per se, supposed to be like in a box. It's supposed to be that they can explore and manipulate the different exhibits in their own way to see how they see fit based on their age and their abilities and what they're interested in. So it's a really exciting place. And so we have a lot of different types of exhibits, which I think Chelsea's going to go through with you guys in a little bit. But it really reflects just a lot of different STEAM activities and whatnot. And so, yeah, so next slide. So, this is, it's kind of like the dry stuff, but really the most important stuff, really, because this is what it all came from, right? So, the Modesto Children's Museum enriches the lives of all children by nurturing creativity, critical thinking, and a love for lifelong learning. And so I know while Modesto, Stanislaus County, and everywhere, we're trying to make our communities better, give children an opportunity, give folks an opportunity. That was one thing that we really saw was, a lot of things we focus on are people that are maybe already into some trouble or need help. So Katie and I, when we started putting together this project, really felt like we wanted to start with the youngest members of our society and really give them opportunity when they're young, when they're impressionable, and when their little minds are, as we all know, as we're getting older, it's a lot easier to learn something when we're young than as we get older. So if we can impress upon them all these lifelong learning strategies, it'll be very, very powerful. And so we really just want to be a place where every child, truly every child feels welcome and a place where they can all be excited to come visit and be proud that this is something right in their backyard. Next slide, please. So kind of why in Stanislaus County? One, we don't have one in Stanislaus County, but one of the bigger reasons is when my wife and I, when we only had one child, it was a little easier to travel. Whenever we'd go around the country to different oral surgery conventions and whatnot, we'd always go to the Chicago or the Boston or the Miami Children's Museum with our youngest daughter before she was in school. And it was just this wonderful place where families from all different backgrounds, children from all different areas, they all came together, and the one thing that everyone had in common was there's children. And so you had all these amazing opportunities to have them learn with each other, and it's just a really positive, upbeat thing, which is what we're all about. So, and then, so having that barrier to access, so that was one reason we wanted to do something here, is that a lot of kids don't get the opportunity to leave this immediate geographic area. There's some interesting statistics in Stanislaus County where, a lot of children haven't left just a few square miles around their house in their whole lifetime. So to be able to have something here where they can't, get to the Bay Area or LA or someplace further away and make sure they have access to these high quality learning experiences is really, really important. Educational impact, being a wing to our education system, to be a partner with our education system, both for our educators themselves, like one of our board members here, Rosie, who's an amazing educator. And so we have some great educators on our board who have helped us, kind of lead the charge as far as making sure that it goes with some of the, the standards that have been set so that teachers can lean on us to also do field trips and things like that locally without having to go far away and bus kids, far away. Places, and also attractive to families and talents. Just to, there's a lot of great things that make Modesto and Stanislaus County great, but this is one more thing that we hope to be like an attraction and really bring a lot of people here to support business, to support just, the vibe and the positivity. Next slide, please. So just to kind of give you an idea, when we were early on kind of studying, is this viable? Is this going to work? Is there... is there a market or a need for it? And so we learned that there were over 100,000 children under the age of 18 in Stanislaus County. And this is from a 2019 and 20 study from Stanislaus Community Foundation. And so based on the metrics, 30% of kids were deemed ready for kindergarten, which wasn't super exciting, so something we wanted to be a part of and change. And then 41% of third graders are reading at grade level, so definitely below some of the national and state averages. And then those kids that aren't reading at grade level by third grade are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. And as we know, there's a lot of metrics around if you don't finish high school, what that means for opportunity down the road. So being involved early on in this, toddler to pre-elementary, elementary school is going to be a huge asset, I think, to the community. Next slide, please. And so, just some other things we learned. 1 in 4 students are learning English in our schools. So already 25% are going to be challenged to be able to, read in English right away. And so again, just another opportunity for us to be there for every child. Whether they speak English as a first language or any other language, but to have different people in the museum representative of those folks so that every child feels welcome and has the opportunity to learn and be with their peers. Next slide. And so our board of directors, we started out with the founding board, and these were so Katie and I, she's really the mastermind and the worker behind the scenes. She doesn't like being on stage, so she forces me up here. But she's really the passionate one who's just got an amazing zest for life and supporting children. And so probably about 4 years ago, we came up with this idea to build this children's museum. And so we grabbed a few of our friends that came from different backgrounds as far as the Foys, many of you probably know, come back much more from an arts background and social media, marketing, branding, and education from that side of things. And then Jenna and Ryan Brady. Jenna is a school teacher, and Ryan's more into business. But we kind of sat down around the table. I think we treated them with some nice wine to try to convince them to jump on board with forming a nonprofit with us. And so we started the nonprofit and got all the legal stuff set up. And then from there, it's just been a snowball effect of bringing amazing people on. As you can see, the rest of our board is just amazing people that come from different backgrounds in education, in law, accounting, business, and so just all kinds of folks to really make it a really strong board, a very working board. These folks have donated a ton of time and money, but a lot of time and energy into making this possible because this hasn't been set up, so we had to just build everything from scratch. So it's been very, very exciting. Next slide. And then two other folks we have that are really amazing is Patty Hill Thomas from the county. Many of you may know her. She's come on as our project manager, and so she's been managing all the construction, as you guys have probably seen down there on 11th Street. It's the old Fat Cat that the museum was able to purchase, which was the house church, and then we took it from the house. Didn't take it from the house. They were selling it. But we bought it from them. And so she's been managing that. And then Carol Scott has also started 3 children museums. She was a lifelong educator before this, but has been involved with 3 capital campaigns, 3 build-outs of museums around the country. And so this is her second one, actually third one in California. But just an amazing resource. And she was supposed to be retiring, but we pulled her out of retirement and said, we need your expertise to make sure we're doing this all correctly and to the highest standard. So next slide. And so we did community stakeholder findings. We had groups similar to this of, I think Mayor Zwollen was there, and I'm sure a few others in this room, and other stakeholders, community shakers. We had parents from around the county. We had different groups that we put together, and Gyroscope, who is our lead design firm, along with our board members that were in the design process. They did all these stakeholder findings to really see what the community wanted. And so some of the things that people really wanted is that, we're family focused. I think that's something someone will always say about Modesto and Stanislaus County. It's all about family, and it's just a great community of friends and neighbors. So that was important. Being a community hub, being a place where everyone can come in and then different, organizations, many who are here today, can partner with us, and we can help serve, their folks. Career connections, right? That's another big thing you hear about a lot of the businesses, making sure there's enough employees down the road. So connecting to that early on and getting kids excited and potential jobs that might be out there for them as they get older. Next slide. And then just to keep going, connection to the region, water, agriculture, healthcare, all these different things. Art and color was a big part a lot of people expressed. They want to see this city brightened and in color and just to reflect all the natural beauty that's here, which is really neat. So that's a big part of it, and Chelsie will show some of those things that we have planned. Next slide. Inclusivity is very important, so having special hours, for different folks that maybe too much stimulation. We have 200-300 people running around in there, but having access and special hours, which again Chelsie can address a little bit more. But making sure everyone again feels welcome. All children of different abilities and backgrounds feel like they have a place, and so that's something that's important to the museum and to the board. So that was a big thing that a lot of folks reached out to us and wanted to make sure from the very early on is something that's planned in this museum. Next slide. And of course, diversity, like we mentioned, we want to make sure that from the board to the employees to the people that are coming, everyone feels welcome, and every child feels welcome, and they see their culture and they see their role models there, and so we want to make sure that's a part of this museum too. Next slide. And so we've already started. I put you guys there on the bottom because I think now we're officially partners with you guys, so I added you on there. But no, we've met with, early on, we've been meeting with a lot of different groups, a lot of educational-based groups, groups that support children, young families, families at risk, and seeing how we can be a partner in the community with those individuals. And so we've made a really great relationship with a lot of great people. So again, we definitely are excited to work with you guys further and develop relationships with how we can serve some of your different organizations and clients or children that you may work with. Next slide. And again, equity and access. Just having, we're gonna have, while there will be a ticket price to go, and there'll be memberships and whatnot, making sure that people are able to access it. So Museums for All is basically an underwritten program. So if anybody is like on government assistance or a certain income, they're able to get in for like $2 a person versus paying the normal $15 ticket price. And then also working with other large grants to grant other groups there to come in. Next slide. And so we built a network. So like I kind of mentioned, when Kate and I were going around the country, we were trying to do our research, and this is all the museums that her and I and then some of the other board members have been to, doing our research over like the last 4 to 5 years. So we really wanted to like pull best practices, because there's everything from mom and pop to 3,000-4,000 square feet to museums that are 80,000 square feet and have 300 employees to ones that have 2 employees. So we're definitely kind of what you consider a medium-sized, a moderate-sized museum. We'll be about 12,000 square feet. I think we're starting somewhere probably around 12 to 15 employees, and then we're hoping to support Chelsie and grow this into even bigger than this. In 5 to 10 years, hopefully we'll be considering maybe a new location or at least expanding. So we're really excited about that. And so we just really wanted to make sure we did it justice and brought a lot of good ideas here to Modesto. Next slide. And so there we are, right down smack in the middle of downtown, which we're really excited about. The board felt that was very important to be centrally located, both in the county and in the city. And then, with different train things going on and transportation, the busing, bike lanes, and then having the parking garage right across the street, it made a lot of sense. And so we'd looked at all different kinds of locations around downtown. And when this came on the market, it was right after COVID, so it was a little scary, but we're like, that's got to be it. We're going to make it happen. So fortunately, a few early communities, philanthropists came together with us, and we were able to purchase the building with the nonprofit, which was really exciting. So the nonprofit owns the space now, which is really great. And then we started again talking to folks that might be interested in investing in this project, bringing on top designers to help design with our board, expanding the board, and eventually grew it to what it is today, which is almost open. Which should be opening hopefully this fall is the goal, so hopefully in like September or so. The building's getting very close to being done on the renovations. If you guys have seen all the construction, sorry, Food Fix, I know we're putting some dust out there right now. And then actually exhibitry and all the stuff you're going to see here in a second is going to be starting to get delivered in June. So it's coming on big 18-wheelers from different fabricators around the country. So we're going to start getting that shipped in here, which is really exciting. So it's all coming together. And we cannot wait to celebrate with everybody at the grand opening event, and then some other kickoff events that will be going on once we have a little closer date to going. Next slide. I think I'm almost done, so you can hear from the cool one. And so this is again what we're going for. So this is going to be the new facade of the Children's Museum. So it's going to be very bright, very alive. So when kids and families are seeing it from across the street in the parking lot or walking down around the street, they are going to see this bright space and want to go explore and see what's inside. Mr. Sunny there is our little trademark logo there on the bottom right. And I'm a bad board member. I don't have it on me. But Rosie's a good board member. She has her Mr. Sunny on every day, literally every day. So she's amazing. So that is going to be the facade. And we'll actually have a little store on the left-hand side with all kinds of educational activities and, I don't want to say toys, not really toys, but different things educationally based that you can, buy for your kids and whatnot. And then on the right doors, you actually go into the welcome reception area and then have access after that to the whole museum. 2 floors, and it's going to be amazing. So before I turn it over to Chelsie, any questions about kind of the history? Because I'm probably a better person to answer anything if anybody had any questions about history or the past stuff before I turn it over to the future. Okay, very good. I'll turn it over to Chelsie Webster.
Thank you. All right. It's so good to meet most of you. As was mentioned, I actually come from Ohio. So I've only been in Modesto now for a couple of months, and I'm learning my way around. I've learned that apparently May the 4th is a very big deal here. So I've been charged with some homework around that. So thank you for that. But yeah, so I come from Ohio. Most recently, I was actually working at a for-profit corporation doing marketing for Abercrombie and Fitch, if you've heard of them before, which is something that I did during the pandemic. But before that, my history has all been around education. As we mentioned, I went to the Ohio State University, Master's of Education in Early Childhood, and I had every intention of being a kindergarten teacher, and then saw this really fun job over at a museum that I thought maybe I'd do for a few months to just learn what informal learning was all about before I went and did my serious work in the classroom. And then 8.5 years later, I was running the show there. So I love informal learning. I think it is so important. And it's really, really hard not to love your job when it looks like this. You can show the next slide. So this is what informal learning looks like. It's often very messy. It's very big. It's very exciting. This is where we get kids engaged in topics that maybe they didn't know they were interested in. So you can see these are a little blurry. I apologize, but these little blobs on the bottom there, I'm really short in the corner there. If you can see how high of an explosion we've got going on there. We've got some really messy science happening up front here. The other thing I love about informal learning is we're able to bring in experts. So I have 2 experts up here on the screen. You'll see there are some rats. I've taught how to play basketball. So we have rats that play basketball to help teach kids about operant and conditional learning. So great experts. They are lovely in the classroom. And then you'll see we have a NASA astronaut there, Kathy Sullivan, who we were able to bring in to teach kids about all of her work. She was the first woman to ever do a spacewalk out in outer space. So again, informal learning looks like so many things, but it is first and foremost very fun, which is how we engage kids in these topics that are potentially very, they're a little bit more difficult to grasp. If we can have fun while doing it, they end up really loving to learn, which is the goal. So, of course, if this is what informal learning looks like, I'm not just going to stand up here and talk to you today. So, of course, we will be doing some informal learning. If you can take us to the next slide. We will be doing a hands-on experiment with your table today. So I'm going to walk you through what we're doing. And, again, be friendly with one another because there's only a couple of supplies there. But we're going to be doing an experiment. So you should have on your table today some clear liquid. And again, the scientific perspective is it's a clear liquid. Do we know it's water? No, we don't. You shouldn't taste it to find out, but I will tell you it actually is water. So we have some water on the table there. You all have one of these or a couple of these on your table. Does anyone know what this is? If you said film case, you are correct. If you said plastic tube, you were born after the year 2000. Yes, a film canister. These are not as ubiquitous as they used to be, but a little film canister. And you should have some of this. Some of this might be familiar to some of you as well. It is some Alka-Seltzer. So what we are doing today, we are going to be doing an experiment where we place the Alka-Seltzer and a little bit of water inside of our film canister, close it up really tight, set it on our tray, and step back and see what happens. Now, a couple things I need you to promise me. If you all were children, I'd be making you wear eye protection, but as you all are adults, I'm going to make you just give me a thumbs up that you promise you won't put your face over the experiment. Yes, we promise? Okay, great. So what I'm going to ask is that you take a couple minutes to just test this out. You can try it a couple of different ways. My recommendation is that you put about 10 milliliters of water and about 1/4 of a tablet inside of this container. Now, if you try it the first time and it doesn't work, it's likely because you didn't get that lid on really tight. And you can set the lid down or you can set the lid up, and you can try it both ways. So why don't you all take a couple of minutes to try out your experiment here. Again, do not put your face over the experiment. Thank you. I'll be right back. Now, if you've had the experiment happen, try it another way. Maybe try shaking it before you put it down, or flip it over so that the lid is on the bottom the next time. Try it a couple of different ways. See if you can put more Alka-Seltzer, less Alka-Seltzer, more water, less water. If you hear squeals, you know it's working. Wow, thank you so much for participating in that with me. I know that sometimes getting messy as an adult is something we're not really conditioned to do, but I don't know if you all could hear around the room as we were doing this experiment, a lot of laughing, a lot of squealing, and that is what learning looks like when you are engaged and hands-on. So, a little bit of background of what was happening there. So what was happening inside of this experiment? We had 2 ingredients inside of that Alka-Seltzer. We had a sodium bicarbonate, which is a base, and we had citric acid, which is an acid. And when you activated those ingredients with that water, they caused a reaction. That reaction created some carbon dioxide, which we had trapped inside of that little plastic tube. And what that gas does is it tries to fill the space as fast as it possibly can. And as more gas got into that space, it filled and filled and filled until it found the weakest point, which was that lid, and shot off into the air. So I like to think of this as a little bit of a metaphor for what's happening with the museum. So we had these incredible board members, the ingredients, that had these incredible ideas. But the community came in and watered this idea. This museum has been so community funded. It has been all the time. The resources has come from within this community. So that's incredible. We kind of bottled that up and we're sticking it inside of this museum space, and it's about to pop off. So I would love to show you what we are going to do in this space. If you can take us to the next slide. As Jake mentioned, we're taking our old fat cat here, as I've learned it was once called, and turning it into our children's museum. So what's the first thing we had to do? Next slide. We had to do some renovations inside. So we did some things that were really neat. We took everything down to the studs. We expanded walls. We created new spaces. And we have been going through this construction phase for a while now to ensure that we are building a space that is perfectly ready to install world-class exhibits. You can go to the next slide for me. This is what our museum is going to look like when it's complete. So Jake mentioned that it's about 12,000 square feet, but it is 12,000 square feet of exhibits. A lot of buildings that are 12,000 square feet have lots of office space or lots of dead space. That is not what's happening in this museum. There are 10 exhibits and a storefront packed into this space. So you've got a little bit of an overview here of our first and second floor. I'm going to take you through some of the renderings of each of these exhibits so you all can see what's going to be happening inside. But we've got exhibits on the first floor, exhibits on the second floor, and right there in the middle we have a 2-story exhibit. It's going to be a big climbing exhibit, as well as a storefront that you'll be able to enter in and buy educational gifts, educational toys, which is something that is so great for our community as well. So you can take us to the next slide. So the first exhibit I want to show you today is our Changing Colors exhibit. This exhibit is really neat and pretty unique for a museum of this size because this exhibit is going to be a ever-changing exhibit. So we are starting with the color yellow, but in a year and a half, we will be transitioning to a new color and a new idea. But for now, we are going to be talking the color yellow, and back to Jake's point about connection to the community. You'll see up on the top here, we've got some almond or almond blooms, as I've learned they're called in this community. And we've got pollinators coming throughout to help us pollinate the almond blooms in our exhibit here. So again, tying everything inside this exhibit back to this place to really help our children feel very proud of the place that they come from and help them make those scientific and educational connections to what they're hearing out in the real world. So we've got pollinators. There's some gears up on the wall there. You can take us to the next slide. There's another view. There's a ball wall here, some bee cubbies, lots of really fun, both fine motor and gross motor, big motor skill sets involved here. You can take us to the next slide. That is our adventure climber, that 2-story climbing exhibit. So what's really neat about this exhibit and the whole museum is that our board, who, again, they are not getting enough credit. They have done so much work. They have designed this museum to be super accessible to all types of kids and families. So while this is a big climbing device, there's actually accessibility from the top floor. So if there's a kiddo that uses a wheelchair, he or she can roll right into that climber and learn what it's like to be up really high inside of this big climbing device. There is a slide. You can't really see it from this angle on the back side there. That is a smaller slide for our friends that might be a little scared of the big slide, as well as a very big 2-story slide that kiddos can use inside. So really great for risky play. Risky play is super important to early childhood development, and risk within sort of confined parameters where, you know, kids can take those risks and learn where their boundaries are. This is what that's going to help us with. You can take us to the next slide. We have in the background there, you could see it on the last slide as well. It's our color story train. So this has some really neat exhibitry that's on the outside of the train. You'll see there's a color wheel there. There's these really fun mirrors that may help you split your face with someone else's face. It's very creepy, but fun. And there's lots of fun exhibits like a light bright wall, really cool stuff on the outside of that train. Inside of the train, you'll be able to take different lines inside of the train and really look and see in these cubby holes of where you are going on the train line. You can take us to the next slide. We are also going to be having a Tall Tales stage. So this is going to be where we're going to have a lot of imaginative play, making sure that kiddos have a chance to dream and sing and act. This is going to be our space for a lot of really fun programming as well. So we can get up and do some of those fun group activities from this place. So this will be a really great resource as we get open. You can take us to the next slide. This is our light lab. So we have a really cool space that has this like darkened door that you have to go through into this darker space so that you can play with really cool light up experiments and exhibits in here. We've got the infinity mirror up on the wall, some projectors, some colored shadows, really neat light play in here. Next slide, please. And then we have our water lab. So the water lab, I will tell you, we do have bibs for the kiddos to wear, but you will get wet in this space, so be prepared. We have, as you enter, there is a waterfall on this glass panel here, so the kiddos will be able to touch that. Everything in here, and I hope it's been assumed, but everything here is hands-on. You'll be touching all of this. Next slide, please. This is our water table. So, fun fact, this is actually being built in my hometown in Columbus, Ohio. So I was lucky enough to get to visit this water table before making the trek across the country to move to Modesto. But this water table is this huge exhibit piece that has all these different water play areas. There is some fog play, as you can see back there, which, again, fog is something that is very well known to this area, to this sort of part of the country. How cool to get to play with it in sort of a hands-on environment. There's a whirlpool. There's a lock system that kids can control flow of water. Again, irrigation. All of these things will be able to draw them to their community, things they might be seeing in their day-to-day, and let them put their hands on it inside of a space like this. Next slide, please. Little Rainbows is our earliest learner space. So this is 0 to 3, our toddler area. Next slide. And you can see inside of this toddler area, we've got a lot of really great toddler-based activities. So this middle section, there's all these different varying levels of height, which, can help with crawling and standing and walking and all of those things that those little ones are working on at that particular point in their development. We've got some exhibitry along the wall there, some light play inside of this area, and these little cloud pods that the kids can crawl through, be inside of. So again, a dedicated space for the little kids where the big kids are not, running into them or pushing them out of the way to get to the fun thing. As those of you with multiple kids probably know, that's sometimes how it can go. So they get their own special space. Next slide. Then we have an air lab. So this is where students can experiment with air. What's really neat here is you can't see it in this photograph, but there's something we have called a Bernoulli garden. And in that garden, we actually have windmills. So again, another thing that they've probably seen if they've traveled along some of the highways around here, big windmills. They've got these smaller windmills that they get to then functionally play with and see how they work. We've got a wind tube. We've got goals in the back there where they can use wind to try to race items through these little goals. Lots of really, really fun activities. Next slide. This is our Valley Proud grocery store and cafe, which is actually modeled off of the very first Save Mart here in town, which is really neat. Again, tying back to their community. We will be having real Save Mart grocery carts in there, real Save Mart little pieces of product in there that they'll be able to scan, cash registers, and in the cafe in the back, the adults in the group will get to sit and be served food, fake food, unfortunately, but at least you'll get to take a load off for a moment. But this is a really great space because kids watch adults. That's how they learn. And this is a time where they get to be what they've been seeing out in the world. So they get to be the one running the cashier and pushing the grocery cart and serving dinner. Those are the fun things that they'll get to play with in this space. And you can't quite tell, and this is a little bit of an old rendering here, but this is where our slide on the second floor will come off very near the entrance of our Save, or of our Valley Proud area. Next slide, please. And finally, this is our Maker Lab. So our Maker Lab is going to be our classroom space where we're going to be able to change out what we're doing. An activity like we all just did together might be one that we're doing in this space, getting messy, trying new things, having some art-based activities, having science-based activities, and also having celebrations in this space. So if you're looking for a birthday party space, how fun would this be? So this is going to be a space where we'll be able to bring in school groups and do really interesting programming with the community, as well as just have some open-ended play for the kiddos in our facility. Next slide, please. So the reason that I drove for 4 days across the country with 4 cats in my car, which I did, true story, is because something like this is so unheard of. This has just been such an interesting project to get to be a part of, because a community like this stepping up and saying that our families and our children deserve a world-class museum, which I have been to a lot of museums. I am telling you, this is a world-class museum. These are custom exhibits that are coming from across the country to come home to Modesto and be here for this community. So this is absolutely something unique. But the only way that I am going to be successful in running this museum in the future, making sure that it's here for the kids for generations to come, is by doing this as a group. So what does that mean? Next slide. I need you. I timed that really well. I feel good about it. I need you all. This is not going to happen alone. This is not going to happen with just our staff. It's got to be a community project that we continue to give our energy and effort to. And how do you do that? You do that by donating, obviously. This whole project has been run through donations. This entire project up to this point has been donated money that has been able to put into this, building this incredible thing. But in the future, as Jake mentioned, we will be charging a ticket price. But our goal is to be able to underwrite every single person that walks in that museum so we can keep our ticket prices reasonable, but keep our experience top-notch. So our goal is that we will still be fundraising throughout the entire operations of this museum to make sure that we are still offering this incredible experience to as many families as can get through our doors. The other way you can donate is your time. Volunteer with us. If you want to volunteer once a year, if you want to volunteer once a week, we will have you. We love volunteers. Volunteers are the backbones of museums. We will need volunteers for our day-to-day operations, helping, just helping people find their way within the museum and do really interesting and fun stuff with us inside of the museum space. But even out in the community, we're hoping to take this museum and expand out into the community. So we'll need volunteers forever and ever. So if you're interested, please see me at the back table after this. And the final way you can help us is by being a connector. In our community, connection is key. This museum is going to be successful when it is partnered with all of the other good work that's already happening in the community. This museum does not exist in a silo. So we want to know if there are really interesting opportunities and ways to get new audiences, new families into our space, or have us get out into new neighborhoods in the community. And to demonstrate this, I do have one last little hands-on activity, but I only need 3 volunteers for this. And before you all stare at me, and I promise it's going to be an easy volunteering opportunity. So if I could have 3 people come join me on the stage, you don't even have to talk. Anyone? I will start pointing at people I know or people I don't know. Who will come? Who will come? Anyone? We've got Zach. Anyone else? Yes. Thank you. Obi-Wan. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to show you what connection looks like in our community. I am going to have to put the microphone down, though, so I'm just going to talk very loudly. Thank you, thank you. Oh, no, that's fine. If you hold that, maybe. So this here is a really fun energy stick, and it does some cool things. It lights up and makes noise. But when I'm holding it by myself, nothing is happening. But if I work with a group of people, we can maybe make this thing do something fun. So I'm going to ask you, Zach, to hold that hand over there on this metal strip right there. Okay, now touch my hand. I'm going to ask you to touch my hand. Obi-Wan, you're going to have to put the microphone down for just a second. Can you touch hands there? And then if you could come around, and I want Obi-Wan touch just the metal end there. Yes, good. Wow. Thank you to our lovely volunteers. Thank you. It's almost as good as his lightsaber, almost. But that's what it looks like when we come together. We need to make the magic happen or the science happen as a community. So thank you so much. We will be in the back after this. If you have questions, if you want to connect with me. Am I giving the table talk next, or are you? Okay, great. So if we can go to the next slide. Our final table talk for the day is going to be, what is one way you can see an organization that you're a part of partnering with a place like the Modesto Children's Museum? So go ahead and take a moment to talk amongst yourselves.
Well, thank you, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. We're running a little late, so I want to thank you, Chelsie, for being a part with us. I take my granddaughter to Sacramento Children's Museum, and she loves it. So the check hopefully can buy some of those foam block thingy that she loves to jump in and put together. So thank you. Thank you so much. I want to say this is that this is what happens when citizens like you have a dream or have an idea. And there's enough energy around it to begin to gather people together and say, let's do something special. And when the Barbers and Rosie Perez and others and Chelsie brought together this team, this is what happens. And I would bet you have an idea or a dream inside you. So I want to encourage you. This is a place where you find people to say, how about this and how about that? And then you come up with that children's museum or whatever that is. So I want to encourage you with that. That's why one of the reasons I, first of all, love Children's Museum. It's an incredible idea. But on the other hand, you have an idea. You have a dream inside you. And this is one of those places where you can begin to find people. Let's make this a great place to grow up and grow old in. And how about this and how about that? And there's so many things that we can all create together if we're not afraid. And so I want to encourage you with that. I'm going to show you just next month's Catalyst. I'm going to show you the video with Chris McPherson on nurturing a work culture, work environment of creativity. He is teaching this morning, so he will be with us next month. Want to encourage you to go back and visit our community partners with Kingdom Coffee back there with Allie, and I don't know who's back there, but hey, I know you're a Star Wars person. So back there, they are going to be opening a coffee shop in Century Center starting hopefully September 1st in that area. And then also to the Children's Museum, go back and encourage Chelsie, and looking forward to what can happen there. If you want to participate with them in some way, you can go back there. Let me thank God in prayer for you, and then I'm going to let you go. Lord, thank you for the time you've given us together. Lord, we all have a dream, an idea that just sits sometimes in our heart and our head. And Lord, if there's somebody like that here, like the bakers and others, I pray that those things would come to the surface. We need our community to have those dreams and those ideas. In Christ's name, amen. You have a good morning.